Welcome back to my channel. The Philadelphia Eagles just finished playing the Dallas Cowboys, and in today's video I'll recap it, give you my thoughts on the game and everything you need to know in case you missed it or if you just want some more in-depth analysis. So starting off, what happened? The Eagles started a little slow, kind of the classic Eagles first half where their offense just doesn't look that great for some reason. They scored 7 points in the first quarter. Yes, this is an accomplishment, but this was only because of a fumble. And in case you missed it, this was not really a strip sack by Milton Williams. It was more Cooper Rush dropped the ball, and Milton Williams just dove in there really fast and recovered the ball. Then the Eagles, of course, got a quick touchdown. And throughout the first half, the Cowboys were getting dominated. The Eagles were dominating them, but the score wasn't showing that. It was 7-3 or 7-6, even at the end 14-6. It was a much closer game on the scoreboard than it actually felt like watching it. Kind of like, I guess, the end of the Jaguars game where it was close. The Eagles were clearly the better team, but the scoreboard was close. In the second half, I really didn't have that many concerns, and the Eagles, of course, proved this right. Put up 14 points in the third quarter, took the starters out for most of the fourth quarter, ended up winning 34-6. So this was just a nice, clean Eagles dominant victory that we've seen several times over the past month, and it is kind of nice. A little bit boring watching the team just dominate, but I can deal with it in the regular season. Even in the postseason, if they want to just keep on dominating, just keep on going. So with a score 34-6, you would think both offense and defense was clicking on all cylinders. The defense is what I will talk about first because they have been the star of the show this past month, holding them to 6 points. I don't care if it's Cooper Rush. You still have CeeDee Lamb. This is still an elite wide receiver, and they have a good tight end. Running backs are terrible, of course. Second and third wide receivers are terrible, of course. But CeeDee Lamb, you would think, would be good enough for a touchdown. They didn't even get that. And this defense is just playing so well under Vic Fangio. They actually ended up having 5 turnovers in this game, 4 fumbles and an interception. It's a record for the Eagles against the Cowboys, and it is a nice breath of fresh air for the start of the season where the Eagles couldn't cause any turnovers. They are now coming in bunches. As for what did the defensive line do? Well, of course, they got those 2 fumbles, 4 fumbles. They only did have 3 sacks, including one, which was a Bryce Huff strip sack. Need to give him a shout out because of all the hate he gets, but he actually was behind Jalenhurts Hunt on the depth chart because he got in pretty late in this game, but he did make a few plays. But while it's only 3 sacks, there was more pressure than that. They ended up having 7 passes deflected, which is a big hindrance to the offense. It's not a big flashy play, but it causes a huge difference. Instead of a potential completed pass, it's an incomplete pass. Of course, that just kind of it's obvious, but it's something that people don't think about. They also had 6 quarterback hits. Cooper Rush was feeling it, and it was a good game. As far as slowing down their rushing game, I actually thought Dowdle for the Cowboys ran semi-effectively on this Eagles defense. I was a little disappointed. He had 12 rushes for 53 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. I actually thought the Eagles' rush defense was a little worse than it has been in recent weeks. They gave up almost 100 rushing yards, but their pass defense it's just so good. Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Slay for most of the game, Isaiah Rodgers, CJ they're the best that I've seen in my time as an Eagles fan, which started about 15 years ago. So it's just so nice. You just trust your defensive backs to cover their star wide receivers, and it works. The Cowboys only had 49 yards of passing. I guess that does subtract sacks, so technically they threw for 66 yards passing. So 29 pass attempts, 66 passing yards. That's amazing. They had a combined QBR of 16, combined passer rating of 49. This Eagles defense just absolutely shut them down. You only needed a touchdown from the Eagles offense to win. So it might be time to start thinking of this team as kind of like the Chiefs, of a defense-first team that has an offense that can score in big plays but not consistently. So kind of like what you see the Chiefs as. Yes, it's Mahomes. Yes, it's Kelsey. They can put up some points, but they're winning because of their defense. And the Eagles are also largely winning because of their defense. So maybe a bit of a mentality shift, but this offense, of course, is still putting up points as well. Onto the offensive side of the ball, they did put up 34 points. That is off 5 turnovers, but still, they didn't really try in the fourth quarter. Jalen Hurts had a decent game. I would give him a B because he did have 2 turnovers. So he threw an interception that I thought was just a good play by Diggs, the cornerback, in the end zone. It was painful, but it was just a good play by the defense. And then he fumbled. You know, there's no excuse. You shouldn't fumble. So 2 turnovers. That's too bad. And he did get sacked 5 times in the first half. He was holding the ball for too long, but he kind of got it together in the second and third quarter, where they put up 21 points on offense. He threw for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a really good touchdown play where he dodged a defender and then threw it to... Who did he throw it to? He threw it to Johnny Wilson, I think. It was actually a really good play. And then he was running like 2022 Jalen Hurts. He did 7 rushes for 56 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. He looked the best on the ground that he has all season. Saquon Barkely, actually, they held him in check a bit. He had 14 carries for 66 yards. There was a bit of the second quarter where they were a little concerned he might be hurt. He ended up being okay, I believe, because he played in the third and fourth quarter. But only 66 rushing yards. That's an accomplishment. Good job, Cowboys. But as a team, it was 38 rushes for 187 yards. So, not good job, Cowboys. As far as what wide receivers did good, A.J. Brown, of course, had over 100 yards, and then just a smattering of receptions across everybody else. Devontae Smith caused some penalties. He almost had some big plays, but nothing ended up happening. That's okay. Eagles ended up with a dominant victory. One thing I would like to point out on this Eagles offense, just instilling that this is a running team, kind of like 2021, but with more splash plays and with a better defense. There were 38 rushes in this game and only 22 passes. I know it's a blowout, but that's an insane ratio. It's almost 2-to-1. So this team has completely changed its ideology under Kellen Moore. And honestly, not much else to say about this game itself, just another dominating victory. The Cowboys are, I would say, officially dead for the year. Dak Prescott, of course, pretty much out for the year. That alone would say you were dead. But to add on top of that, being 3-6, they just don't have any hope. Their defense did look better, getting some players back from injury, but I'm not concerned about the Cowboys making the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. But for the Eagles looking forward, this Thursday night, there's the biggest game of the year so far with a Thursday night game against the Washington Commanders. This will decide who's in first place of the division. If the Eagles win, they'll be a game and a half above. If they lose, they'll be, half a game. If they lose, I think they'll be, a game behind, because they would be 7-3. Washington would be 8-3. There would also be a bit of a tiebreaker thing. A little complicated for the wording because of Washington not having their bye week yet. But anyways, that game is huge, and I will have a preview video out shortly. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments down below, like, subscribe, and I will see you later.